Now, most men can't multitask. Can you drive and talk at the same time?
Not that I want to frighten you, but we will find out. Cate is someone I truly admire. Well, this one is relatively friendly, but that is...
Relatively friendly to what?
She is arguably the greatest actor of our age. But more than that, I admire her deep commitment to other people in her society.
Climate change, as you know, is the biggest thing that's facing everyone, and if theatre's not connected into that, then we become irrelevant.
Is that a solar-powered drill, by the way, I can hear, or not?
It will be, it will be. Tim is a man who is deeply passionate about climate change. I don't think there's anyone like him. He's the sort of person that I want to be.
Why don't you borrow this?
I know, I'm such a twit. I've got sunscreen
Grab
on,
it,
but
you'll be fine. Yeah.
What about you? No, look, I've got hair on my head. I used to think it was so easy to work in film because, of course, you could just assemble a series of perfect moments and make a perfect performance. But, of course, it's not like that.
I cannot confess to something I did not do.
Denials are all in vain.
You of the rebellion, madam, you were party to it. It is plain enough.
Where is your proof?
It was to your advantage.
You must let me see the Queen.
You despise the Queen.
I don't know if I got involved in filmmaking by default or by design. I don't think I love film specifically as so much as as a creative person, I just love experience. And that through filmmaking, I've had an extraordinary set of experiences.
I guess I'm not alone in saying I adore Cate Blanchett, you know, but for a whole lot of reasons. She's a person of extraordinary intellect and of enormous talent.
Making film, I've learnt to allow the camera and the audience in. And so I find that the process of making film encourages me to be more open.
I'm taking a bit of time off from acting. My husband and I are taking over the Sydney Theatre Company, the co-artistic direction of the company in January.
The decision to come back to Australia was based on family, the job of being offered to run the Sydney Theatre Company. And also, we were really thinking about the future and what was happening to the planet. Where would our bunker be? Not that you're safe anywhere from climate change, and we said it would have to be in Australia.
Where else in the world can you live within 20 miles of the centre of a major city and have this? This is my habitat. I love this place. And back where I live, there's no mains power or water either, so I've got to generate my own water and power. But I like that. I like to be a bit independent.
Flannery was named Australian of the Year for being the country's most influential and outspoken climate change activist.
Dr. Tim Flannery won the Eureka Prize for Environmental Research.
Flannery won the Book of the Year prize for his non-fiction work on climate change.
If the climate keeps on changing the way it is now, we could reach a potential point where the stresses on our societies would be such that we could descend back basically into barbarism. And that's what really scares me.
People have feared and jeered and discounted his findings, and then turned around and held the same findings years later, held him up in such high regard. Well, I first encountered Tim, I started hearing quite provocative things that he was saying. And then I read The Weathermakers, which really changed my life. He's incredibly passionate. We got Tim in as a motivational speaker, and he's an incredible person to have to galvanise a room and make you feel that things are possible. He's on my speed dial, and so I've always got things I want to ask Tim.
I'd like to really sit down with Cate and talk to her about what does she want to achieve in terms particularly of environmental things, and have a bit of a talk about what I want to achieve and see if together we can see a path forward that'll let us be doubly effective.
Hello.
Hi, Cate. It's great to see you again.
I know you've walked up and down here a few times, but have you actually ever been into the workshop or into the smaller theatre?
Only very briefly. It looked intriguing. You know, I'm fascinated with all of this, the theatre, you know.
Where the line is between theatre and life.
The theatre is a really human medium, and I think people are drawn back to live experience because they want to, whether it be a forum, whether it be, you know, going to hear a play reading, people want to be in a room with other people and talk about things.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I know. See, some of the things I've seen here have just stuck with me. It just allowed me to sort of inhabit another mind for a little while in a way that was so precious.
Where I find it really exciting is that it's an interactive medium. It's not a passive medium. And I think that, you know, when I love film and I think, you know, I've enjoyed my sort of time with it and hope I can continue to do it. But the thing is, when you're an audience member for a piece of theatre, you're responsible for the evening. You're asked to participate. Your life is being reflected back to you, and you can immediately comment on it through your response. And the actors really can feel that and shift and change according to the audience's.
Exactly. I think it is. It's much more akin to real life, this, to me.
Yeah. We do so much work here, and the company's history is so rich that we wanted to sort of show people as they walked along to give them a sense of the ephemera of theatre, because you see it and then it's gone, and so it only exists in our memory. So really, the production stills of all the different work, like this one, the Cherry Pickers, which the company actually took overseas, was a really important work. It's a long walk, but it's worth it. Often life doesn't work in a linear way, and certainly hasn't for me. I used to go to drama classes as a child, but I didn't have a show mum. It was all just about play. And so for a really long time, I thought about it as a hobby. And then I think because it is a vocation, you don't get involved in the arts to make money, you get involved because you can't help but get involved. And so it kept chasing me around. So I ended up going to the National Institute of Dramatic Art here in Sydney, and then thought I'd give it a few years to see if I got work. And then I did that old adage, I mean, work generates work, and here I am. I don't know if you've ever been to this space. It's where we do all our education work. When the students come and see the show, they can actually
make a comment.
Make comments.
That's a very interesting thing,
and you
isn't
know,
it?
sometimes the criticism is harsh, but it's always passionate.
Exactly, which is what you want.
And there's a lot of fecking in this play. It's a Martin McDonald play, so there's a lot of fecking responses.
Yeah, sure.
We probably should go in, actually, because we're going to be inundated with school kids in a minute.
No, well, that's
rabid
great.
school children. This is quite an interesting set. It's made from all found objects. So it's, you know, we're recycling and reusing all the bits.
Looks like an old Silent Night fridge there, an old gas fridge. It's fantastic. Haven't seen one of those for years.
No.
Amazing. And there's Kennedy.
I think like the first play I did for the company, one of the first plays I did for the company was in this space. It's a flexible space there. Back in the day. Have a good show. The actor's a bit naked in there, so we might...
Oh, that's all right. We won't bother them.
So we'd suddenly become commuters doing this job, and we were finding ourselves sitting in traffic, and it was depressing the hell out of us. And so...
Have you ever thought about getting a boat, a little tinny to take you from...
We've got a little rowboat at the end of our place, but it's a breeding ground for sharks.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I mean, sharks, I'm not very good with the...
I've got some good news about breeding sharks, though. female sharks, which are the big ones,
Yeah.
when they give birth, they don't eat, because otherwise they'd eat their own pups. So they have a hormone released into their blood.
What months do they give birth so I can go swimming?
I'll find out for you. I don't know which species it is, but it's true they don't.
Andrew and I were brainstorming about reconnecting the company back to the city and how we could make theatre, what would make theatre more relevant, what are the big questions facing it? And Andrew said, climate change, what if we greened the building? And I said, could we? Because we exist in the proximity of the Harbour Bridge and the Opera House, which are such icons in this city, if we could become an icon, a relevant icon, green icon, in this century, it could have an influence on further development in the city. It'd be so fantastic if we could, you know, in our small way, help to motivate not only an arts precinct down here, but to have a green arts precinct so that people can come down and eat organic food and experience a, you know, piece of live theatre or some music and know that that energy is being fed into the grid and then drawn back. They're having little impact.
Yeah, it is. If theatre is about enlarging the mind and about giving people a space to experience things and think in different ways, then that's a logical progression, isn't it? Because you're just getting people to think a bit more deeply about their engagement with the world through energy and organic food and all that sort of stuff. And you do discover in the end it's fun, it's not a sacrifice.
The amazing thing about acting on what we know to be facts about what's happening to the planet is that there's an opportunity there to sort of for humility, really, which is not a natural state.
Humility and giving something back, and that's what I'm convinced that all of the great human advances that have been created by giving something away.
I do despair sometimes because if you look at the evolutionary cycle and you know, when I was at school, people were saying, well, why were the dinosaurs extinct? And you think, well, we're an extinction event. On pessimistic days, that's you know, the way. But you have to be hopeful, especially having children. I mean, having children is probably one of the most optimistic things you can do in the current climate.
Well, when I see how far we've come in the last 10,000 years from, you know, hunter-gatherers through to this global civilization we've created, we can't just let all that fall apart. I don't believe it's too late, Kate. I just can't. I don't think that's right.
But that's why I love you, Tim.
Yeah.
So as a kid, did you used to put, like, electric wires onto cockroaches and try and were you creating batteries?
We didn't have cockroaches.
No, they do now.
I know, climate change.
I did look on the internet and saw it eating a rather large pig.
I'm not sure how interested he is. Is it sort of about this big?
It's about as big as me, and it's got little diamonds on.
Yeah.
I know how it looks aesthetically.
Right.
You know what it does.
Can you imagine sailing through the heads and seeing rock wallabies scramble up the slope of North Head? Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Shoot.
What will you shoot?
Bottles, birds, the neighbourhood cats.
You're very brave.
The thing that I love about theatre is you get to develop your idea in a very tangible way over a series of time with people in a room. And you've got 6 weeks to do it, and then you put it in front of an audience. So somehow I can touch and feel it more than I can touch and feel film.
Auntie Rena is sick.
Isn't she always?
She's particularly bad today. Poor thing.
So be it.
She did want me to say, though, how lovely you look with a bit of weight off.
Did she?
I think there's a greater sense of ownership of the whole when you're working in the theatre. But I don't think film and theatre are mutually exclusive because they make different demands on you because in the end, my relationship to that camera it's hopefully intimate and truthful, but it's still an audience.
Right.
I can get it for you by Monday. You can have what you want.
Right. You and Ray? So you're not a stockbroker, you're still a drug dealer. Fuck.
And when you get in a big space like the Sydney Theatre, which is just through there, you know, it's an 800-odd seat house, and you can still employ that sense of immediacy and intimacy that you have with a camera, but that camera is communicating and feeding back to you, and you've got to do what you do in a wide shot.
No, never. I'd rather die.
So I found I've learnt an incredible amount about working in the theatre from working in film.
No. Do we think, Desmond? Is it possible?
There's a lot of work to be done.
Imagine. But it is going to be.
I am glad I trained at a theatre school because I do think what it instilled in me anyway is, for a very impatient person, it instilled a greater sense of patience and the fact that I'm in it for the long haul. You know, the noise may die away, but you know, I can still continue the exploration.
I've always just loved nature and the natural world. I've always wanted to be a scientist, ever since I was a little kid. This is our big chance. We're opening the window into the past now. And I've been a paleontologist. This is the carnassial tooth, the meat-cutting tooth to the marsupial lion. Now, that's a pretty rare animal. I've named giant rats, big things about that long, tree kangaroos, bats of various sorts, probably 40-odd species all up of living mammals. I spent about 15 years working in the tropical rainforests of Papua New Guinea and eastern Indonesia and the Pacific Islands. And this little guy is a tree kangaroo from up there, and this was unknown to the outside world until 1995 when I discovered it. And since then, I've gone on to become interested in climate science.
We're joined now by Tim Flannery, who is a scientist and chairman of the Copenhagen Council for Climate Change.
Look, Australia is the hottest and driest and flattest continent. We've had increasing temperatures, and there's also less flow in our streams and rivers.
So you believe it is climate change here?
I think so, and we're sort of a harbinger, if you want to think of what the world's going to see. One of my great passions has been this pursuit of being able to live sustainably in this country of mine. Because what I see at the moment is Australians just tearing through a resource base and leaving a devastated continent in their wake.
This country's just been devastated by drought in the last 10 years or so. It's just now starting to get some decent rain.
I think Tim just knows, you know, when you read the figures, he knows that time is running out. And, you know, he's picked himself up and he's found a new route, and he always will do that. And that's what I find utterly inspiring about him, is he'll say, OK, we're going to go in this direction now.
When I first proposed that we needed to move away from burning coal conventionally, I was sort of front page news on some of the Australian newspapers as being this ridiculous person who'd called for something that was impossible and also undesirable, because Australia's the world's largest coal exporter.
I think to be an iconoclast like Tim, I think you have to be prepared to have some lonely days.
The first person to say something is often the one who gets kicked. And so I guess I get kicked a bit.
We're heading off to Wellington Caves. I wanted to show you some of these extraordinary fossils that have been found in Australia. It's where I spent a lot of time when I was younger, when I was a researcher, and we discovered some just incredible things out there.
I started off studying paleontology, and I saw how much climates can change by studying fossils. You know, so I know that climate change is a reality.
Professor Orgy, how are you, mate?
Good to see you.
Great to see you.
I haven't seen you for donks. So these are the future, eh? The paleontologists of tomorrow.
Well, this is good. This one, I can tell you what that is. That's the main bone in the foot of a kangaroo. So that's what lets them really hop. That's the tail vertebrae of a kangaroo.
Got another challenge for you, Tim.
Ah, now, that fellow I know.
Yes.
That is the arm bone, this arm bone, of a bandicoot. Now, how do I know it's a bandicoot? I can tell you it's small, so it's bandicoot-sized. And this little crest on the front has a very distinctive shape in the bandicoots, because bandicoots use that to scratch in the ground, and they've got to have quite a bit of muscle power. It's a strange thing when you've got such a big issue as climate change. It often takes quite a lot of momentum to knock you into realisation. You know, I'd studied science, I'd studied paleontology, I'd studied geology. I'd worked in the mountains of New Guinea where I saw the tree levels rising as a result of the warming. And all of a sudden cohered into this whole, and I thought, that's why that's happening. That's what the past climate stuff's about. And that was the moment of realisation for me. Oh, wow, look at this.
The cathedral.
This is what makes this cave so amazing.
So this is the spot.
This is where we toiled, making this hole.
Yep.
And this is where I really found my first tree kangaroo. You know. So it really does mean quite a lot to me, this place. Tree kangaroos are kangaroos that climb up in the treetops of tropical rainforest today. And the fossil was fabulous to discover because all of a sudden you're holding this little bone about that long in your hand and you realise that it's telling you something about this incredible earth of ours, you know, that things have changed so much, you know, that there was once tree kangaroos in New South Wales. Oh, wow, here we go. Lots and lots of small bones in here. It's really fascinating for me, this stuff, because I've got much more involved in recent climate change science. And you realise just how valuable these past climatic fluctuations are to let people at least begin to think about how much our climate might change in future.
Well, you wouldn't have any tree kangaroos now.
No, that's right. Well,
now, I've got something for you to diagnose up here.
Oh, OK.
Just there.
Well, there's the four molars starting at the back there, going up. And they've got a very distinctive structure which says that they're relatives of the grey kangaroos and the wallabies. But see this line here? That little line of bone?
Oh, yes.
Running around there, that's the cranium. Quite a good one if you... It's probably delicate.
Yeah, well, this stuff's really crumbly.
It's about rock wallaby-sized to me, maybe.
Well, rock wallaby is exciting.
Yeah. You know they're the closest relatives of tree kangaroos. Wow, back into the world of today.
Yes.
You can see how conditions here have changed from quite dry and arid through to quite tropical. And that's the result of Earth's climate shifting across the face of the Earth due to natural cycles. But I guess you're all aware of climate change and the fact that we're pumping a lot of greenhouse gases into the air, which is forcing other changes which aren't natural on the climate system. That's one of the reasons I'm interested in the past, you know, because it really is a key to the future. Yeah. And the more you understand about the past, the more you can at least make a reasonable guess about how things are going to unfold. I'm convinced by the modern science. I think it's absolutely straightforward that the greenhouse gases are causing these shifts we're already seeing. And living in Australia, the impacts have already been substantial. But what I really worry about is the future of my children.
I think there's a lot of fear around the notion of climate change, fear of what it means, how can we possibly make those changes, but also the fear of being judged. And Tim just doesn't do that. He doesn't have that judgment. Tim's been an incredible ear for Andrew and I in terms of greening in the theatre, asking questions of us and pointing us in directions for research, and also, in a way, for us checking in with him, saying, are we going in the right direction?
We're off to Taronga Zoo. To see some of my old mates over there, the Komodo dragons. They're very interesting animals. They look rather ferocious, and they can be ferocious. 50,000 years ago, Komodo dragons were spread right across northern Australia. And I want to bring back those big predators. This country of ours never had lions or tigers or bears, but what we did have was giant lizards, and they played the role of regulating the herbivores.
Good morning,
Oh, it's
Kate.
you. You've got your hat on. I didn't recognise you yesterday without the hat.
No, well, it's a battered old thing, but it keeps the sun off anyway. Yeah. So, do you want to have a look? This is why I want to bring you here.
Look, I was just saying, I did look on the internet and saw it eating a rather large pig.
Well, this one is relatively friendly, but...
Relatively friendly to what?
Well,
to a tiger?
Yes,
or...
to a tiger, yes. No, look, seriously, I think it'll be quite okay.
He's really beautiful.
Yeah, they are fantastic things, and when we get a bit closer, you'll just see how extraordinarily beautiful they are.
Is that what, from Indonesia, or is that where they're from?
Today, they're only on a few islands in Indonesia,
right.
But thousands of years ago, they were spread right through Indonesia, Timor, all the way down into Australia. And they've become extinct here, we think, as a result of humans and other land use changes and so forth. So one of my great interests is thinking about how these sort of animals might go if we ever reintroduce them into this country. And we've got so many problems with feral animals there, feral pigs, feral goats and all that sort of stuff. So these animals, as top-level predators, may play a stabilising role in terms of controlling the numbers of those introduced species.
Given how this one ate the pig with such gusto.
Let's go and see if we can meet.
Look, climate change is important. If it means the protection of the species, I'm prepared to sacrifice myself.
Well, good. I was thinking if anything does go wrong and you get bitten, I can see I'll be accursed, cast out, because every time you hobble onto stage, people say that bugger Flannery. Look what
Think of all those one-footed rolls that I'll have access to.
Oh, that's right. Millions of them, I can imagine. Oh.
Have you got a phone?
Yeah, sure.
I can say my last farewell to my boys. Have you got the camera?
Mummy's going on to greater things to feed the Komodo dragons of the world.
OK, the lizard looks happy.
I think if we just move slowly, generally, and try not to alarm him. It's a beautiful thing. You can feel his skin, he's starting to shed it. But see the colours, how lovely the colours are. Aren't they just beautiful?
This is the newer skin, the paler.
You can feel where the skin started to come away, but I think this is the fresh new skin. This is probably the older skin here.
Mm. And how fast can they run? How fast do they move?
Oh, look, now we might just... I'm not sure how interested he is.
Yeah.
But you give me a hand, you can step back.
So you say he has eaten or he hasn't eaten?
Oh, not for about a week now.
Kate, now listen. Years ago, I used to work with a very severe Japanese woman that we called the Komodo dragon, and she was more scary than this thing, I can tell you. So don't worry. People are scared of Komodo dragons. They look big and fearsome, and people don't value their ecosystem function and don't see them as part of the Australian fauna. But on all of those counts, I think they're wrong. Komodo dragons, by and large, aren't a danger to people, but they are very important regulating ecosystems. They're critical. And maybe that Australians will never be comfortable with having these wonderful animals back in their landscape, but as an ecologist, I can see all of the wounds in our current landscape. I can see all of the species that have been taken away and the lack of function, the dysfunction in our ecosystems.
Yeah.
So to me, it's sort of important that we think about that and think about trying to create competent ecosystems again.
OK.
Now, let me get a photo. Hey, do you want a photo for you?
I would love a photo. Well, I'm not going to sit astride it.
They're probably unwise.
Now squat down and reptilian.
I don't want him to think that I'm sort of trying to mate it.
Anyway, I think we better let this poor fella have his breakfast, eh?
Bye-bye, fella.
Meeting the Komodo dragon took a lot of trust from Kate. To see her approach it close up and see how beautiful it was, and to be able to touch it, I think is something magical.
Thank you, that's amazing.
Oh, I'm so glad we could do it. It's a beautiful animal.
Thank you so much.
Well, boy, I've got all, my skin was all sort of tingling with excitement, yeah, after doing that.
Catch a few flies.
Exactly. It's wonderful. You need about 10 lifetimes to do everything you want to do, I think.
I know, tell me about it. It's going to be 1,900 of these cells, and because it's an M-shaped roof, they're going to be lined both sides. And, you know, our job was to reconnect the Sydney Theatre Company back to Sydney first and foremost. Oh, what's on your back?
Has it got 8 legs or 4? Yeah, there'll be a few little ringtail possums living in here, and now there's something. Now, just look at that.
What I think we should do with the walkway is a huge mural.
Mural?
Like a kind of sketchy of our theatre and the walls.
There's often in Australia a sense that theatre is for an elite, which if you spend 1 minute inside any theatre company, then you realise, in fact, it's all about the audience.
This is a really rough version of the kind of elements that it has. But I think it's all continuous line and it all feeds into itself and it all feels sort of hand-drawn and painterly.
Oh, it's great. It's great. So, and then you overlay.
And then you overlay colour over.
We have 300,000 people attending our shows over the course of any given year. And it's all about reaching a diverse audience. And certainly for us at the Sydney Theatre Company, it's about putting a diverse array not only performances on, but also to extend the life around the theatrical event. You know what's really good about this is that it means that what we're doing is not seen, hopefully, in isolation, but as part of the whole.
That's what I wanted to try and link everything. Yeah, I wanted to make it all feel like it comes from the same building, because it does.
Yeah. Alice is what's called our resident designer. So, I mean, all of this discussion is about what the...
Designing our residents.
Yeah, about treating this like a... I mean, we work in a theatre. It is, and it's another set in a way. It's the first encounter people will have with a theatrical experience that they're going to have at the wharf, and so how people, you know, process down there is really important.
I think this is something amazing in this palette.
Well, all those minor
kind of colours.
The minor colours.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's something great in those.
So it would be something that you'd paint onto and then put a fix onto the wall rather than painting straight onto the wall?
Yeah, and it would be a huge, beautiful, sweeping kind of...
Oh, that's good.
What Cate gives back to the city of Sydney and to Australia is just enormous. There's a lot of Australians who've decided to live overseas, and Cate and I have a really deep sense of belonging in this country. And I suppose it's what's driven us both forward in a way. I've always tried to explain what it means to be Australian, what the consequences are of living in this country. And Cate wants to develop a vibrant Australian arts community that examines in a different way what it means to be Australian.
The top part is all the Sydney Theatre Company.
Yes.
And the wonderful thing for me about being down here is that you've got the Australian Theatre for young people, and you've got the Sydney Dance and the Philharmonia choirs down there, and I mean, this you can see how long the walkway is, and the theatre's at the very end and in the middle. Yeah. In order to take us off the grid, we've been working with the University of New South Wales, and they've developed this new Pluto cell, which you probably know better than me how much energy it
Yes, I think that's the 240 watt one. Is it sort of about this big and very dark?
It's about as big as me, and it's got little diamonds on. I know how it looks aesthetically.
Right.
You know what it does.
Okay, yes.
I just admire so much what she's doing with her theatre company. She is really walking the talk, you know. She's making sure that that theatre company is powered, by and large, by solar energy. It's
going to be 1,900 of these cells, and because it's an M-shaped roof, they're going to be lined both sides.
OK. Well, that's going to be a huge array. That's fantastic.
To put solar panels on is quite daunting, but Tim encourages you to think big. People were saying, well, what is theatre? What's that got to do with theatre? And we kept saying, you know, if theatre's not connected to the currents, then it will become irrelevant, and this is the biggest thing that we're all facing.
Yeah, it's one of the things that really does give me optimism. You know, if you take that longer-term view, think back where we were 5 years. Think where we are now. We've made progress. And the day-to-day grind it does grind you down, but I think 5 years from now we'll be a hell of a lot further on than we are now.
Yeah, I mean, I
and
hope
it's because of
we
efforts
will
like this. Yeah.
I mean, and we're just at the beginning of it. Obviously, there are so many more changes that we can and need to make, but...
I've noticed when I fly into, say, a place like Adelaide or Melbourne, you do see solar panels now on rooftops. Do you ever count them as you're flying? You know, and I remember moaning for years that there was nothing, and now there is some stuff, and this is going to just promote that. So I reckon every time you jump on a plane and fly into another city and count them, you can at least get that little warm feeling that, well, we've started to put that in progress and see change.
Knowing Tim's work, specifically in Australia, that was really inspiring to us when we were looking to green our operations. Because a big thing for us was you have to be connected to the place that you are. And, you know, our job was to reconnect the Sydney Theatre Company back to Sydney first and foremost.
Because to me, the real Australia is these rocks and the trees and the plants.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm too much of a biologist, but I tend to think that if we understand the land, we will know how to treat it properly and how to give ourselves a sustainable future here.
But how do you feed that into the education system, really?
Yeah, it's a really difficult question. But I think, you know, what you do in theatre and what I do as a writer and so forth all helps that. And it's a process of questioning as much as anything, isn't it? You've just got to give people the right questions to start thinking about.
Tim is endlessly positive and solution-based. You spend 2 seconds with Tim and you instantly feel better and you feel galvanised to do something. I think in the end, anyone who encounters Tim comes away changed.
We don't know what happened, but we know that 95% of all species living on the planet vanished.
Watch out for bandicoots. God, 3 already this year.
I just wanted to show you an Aboriginal carving over here. Can you see that stone straight ahead of us there? See the Aboriginal fish upside down on it? That's an Aboriginal carving, and I love that spot because it reminds me that someone else lived here for 10,000 years before I ever did. And they gave me this spot, you know, so I hope I can hand on my little bit of it in good shape for everyone in future.
What I really want to show Kate is time. That's my great passion, the depths of time, and I hope that I can explain a bit to her about the rocks that we all know around Sydney and what they really mean.
Do we release a lot of methane?
I'm not sure.
Or is it just the cows?
I think it's more the cows.
We love fart jokes in Australia.
We do, I know.
It's a national pastime.
It's true. Well, there's something very funny about a fart. It's sort of, Every time I meet Kate, I tend to learn a bit more about her. On this trip, I suppose, I've learnt that she's got a fabulous and naughty sense of humour, which is wonderful. I always knew she had a great sense of humour, but I hadn't quite realised how enjoyable it was. North Head is one of the largest areas of natural bushland left in the Sydney area.
Watch out for bandicoots.
Yeah, bandicoot road deaths.
God, 3 already this year.
You know, the bandicoots used to be all over Sydney, but something's happened in Sydney over the last 30 years that has caused them to go extinct almost everywhere. And the last population surviving in the Sydney area is right here at North Head National Park.
Foragers, aren't they?
Everywhere, yeah, they're little insectivores. They were in people's gardens. They were quite common. This planet of ours doesn't just exist out of nothing. It's the life on the planet that makes it what it is. And as we degrade the life force of Earth, we will face severe consequences. So it's when I put a little bandicoot, a little mammal that big back onto the land, it might seem insignificant, but that bandicoot moves around seeds. It controls insect populations, and that leads to better health of the vegetation. And that leads to a cleaner atmosphere, It's all linked up. Why don't you borrow this?
I know, I'm such a twit. I've got sunscreen on, but I
you'll
didn't.
Be fine.
Yeah. What about you? No, look, I've got hair on my head.
Well, I'll be fine. I've got browner skin. Come on, you need it.
No, I'm good. I'll just do this. You're a gentleman.
Well, anyway, so this is sand sheet flora. And, look what we can see down here.
Where?
Just watch your eyes on these little spiky bits, but that is a bandicoot digging.
You have eyes like a hawk.
This little fella, he's come along and sat down where that pile of sand is and dug down with his strong front legs and put his long pointy nose in.
Hoping to find
a little grub or something. But it really tells you why bandicoots are important. If there wasn't something to eat all of these grubs, there'd be an impact on the trees.
Yes,
and it just runs through the whole ecosystem. There'll be a few little ringtail possums living in here and bandicoots. And now there's something. Now, just look at that, Kate.
Oh, they're little...
Speak of the devil, and there he is. Oh. Yeah, that's the skull of a ringtail possum. Something's happened to him. Could have been a fox, or perhaps he just died of old age. Actually, I'll have a look at his teeth and we'll see if he died of old age.
Oh, don't. Really?
He did, He lived a very long and full life. All his teeth are worn down, so...
Little thing.
We might take that back for the rangers, hey? Do you use number 2s?
Pardon? Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Are these from the... That's better. Oh, what's on your back?
What is it? Has it got 8 legs or 4?
No, it hasn't. Oh, I thought it was a caterpillar. It was just a little thing. See how brave I was, Tim?
You
See
were.
How brave?
Could
have been a Spitfire.
It could have been. We were terrified of those as kids, the Spitfires.
I know. No, we used to race them.
Did you?
Back in the days when life was simple in the primary school. So we used to race caterpillars. Look at this place.
Wow.
God, it's beautiful.
Yeah. So here it is, Kate. What we're seeing here, really, is Sydney as it was 200 years ago, at least in part, and then the city that we've created in the meantime. And they can coexist, but we need to give a bit of space to this natural Sydney to let it live and breathe and grow.
It's really important for our imaginative landscape, I think, to be able to come to places like this and visualise what it must have been like 200 years ago, 40,000 years ago. Because we're not connected to the history. We can't possibly move forward with any intelligence into the future.
Exactly. Well, just to take you on an imaginative journey a bit, if you can imagine, these sandstone bluffs, you can see the Sydney sandstone.
Along there?
Most people just accept it, but when I look at that, it tugs at my heartstrings because that rock tells me about a time when the Earth nearly died. The closest the Earth has ever come to dying in its history is documented in those rocks, you know.
And how many thousands, millions of years ago was...
That was 195 million years ago, and we don't know what happened, but we know that 95% of all species living on the planet vanished, and the air started turning toxic, the ocean became a toxic purple slime, and things just vanished, and something went wrong with the balance of the planet. Just this arid sandstone with nothing in it. There's nothing living in it. And, you know, for millions of years. But underneath them is this riot of life represented in the coal measures.
So what you mean in the layers of rock above the coal layer is that there's no fossils, there's no signs of life.
That's right. And no signs of vegetation to hold the river systems together because the water just flowed across the landscape and eroded everything. But there was a lot of toxic algae around at the time. We seem to have destroyed the ozone layer as well because they released sulphur.
Right.
They poisoned the ocean, released sulphur into the atmosphere. The sulphur destroyed the ozone layer. That then had an impact on all the living things on the surface of the planet.
So then what do you say to people who then, you know, climate change skeptics who look at an event like that and say, well, see, it's happened before, it's got nothing to do with anything humans are doing?
It's a bit like saying, you know, all care but no responsibility. Nothing we can do you know, make a difference, and we know it can. We can see the changes that we are wreaking on Earth's atmosphere. We can measure it precisely.
Since the Industrial Revolution, I would imagine.
For the last 200 years. The time is for us to live up to our responsibilities. As, you know, we are the guiding intelligence of the planet, arguably, you know. So I would argue that those rocks tell us how fragile this planet of ours is, that we can never take its stability for granted. We actually have to work to keep this a productive and healthy planet that can support us. You know, the fact that bandicoots have survived here is just fantastic and a wonderful sign of hope. But I look forward to the day when we'll find bush rats here, and we'll find potoroos here and rock wallabies. Can you imagine sailing through the heads and seeing rock wallabies scramble up the slope of North Head? Wouldn't that be wonderful?
I know, and they're not animated.
No,
you know,
real ones.
Yes.
So we can have that.
To be an iconoclast like Tim, you have to be prepared to stick your neck out and dare people move positively forward to a new place. He's a rebel leader, in a way.
You know what makes Cate so effective as an advocate for an environment? And it's really just that she gives so much. She does, you can see that she personally gives so much and cares, and I think that's what really counts.
Tim's able to look beyond the argument to try and answer the question that the person is actually trying to ask. And if I could do that as an actor, but it does take people like you, Tim Flannery. I mean, without you, it wouldn't be happening.
You're right, no. Anyway, without us, eh? Yeah.